Hello, friends. Got a question for you. Do you enjoy movies? Those ones where someone's born with a mission to change a whole country's destiny? If you've seen flicks like that, you'll totally vibe with what I'm about to share. And if not, stick around, cause this real life tale we're diving into is like something straight out of a dream. When I stumbled upon the details for this video, it felt like I'd stepped into another dimension. See, we've all had this idea that Meghan Markle's marriage to Harry was all about fame and riches, but folks, the reality is far more mind-blowing, so buckle up and watch this video till the end to uncover the jaw-dropping truth. Meghan Markle thought she could shake things up by marrying into the royal family, believing she could revolutionize it from within. But now that she's back in the States, people are getting a clearer picture of who she truly is. And guess what? She's not exactly winning any popularity contest, especially among Americans. A royal biographer even mentioned that folks are starting to see through her facade. Can you believe it? Meghan's grand plan involves overthrowing the royal institution and replacing it with her own. It's hard to wrap my head around such a wild notion. What a cruel twist of fate for the royal family to end up with such a troublesome daughter-in-law like Meghan. Americans have a knack for spotting nonsense. They've been the ones peeling back the layers of Meghan's little scheme. Meghan Markle may be American, but that doesn't mean we're buying into her ambitions. It does sound like something out of a fantasy flick, doesn't it? But Meghan's dead set on turning it into reality all by herself. Maybe she's got Hollywood dreams, wanting to star in blockbuster movies, so she's carrying that mindset into real life. But let's face it, Meghan Markle's just a blip on the royal family's radar. She's insignificant and irrelevant. So what does she think she can do to take down the monarchy? Even if she had 1,000 lifetimes to practice, she wouldn't stand a chance. According to Andrew Lowney, author of The Traitor King, she believes she could change the institution instead of working from within. Meghan's under the illusion that everyone will bow to her, that she can call all the shots, and that she's not part of a team. Maybe it's because she grew up in a tough family situation, feeling oppressed in many ways. So she despises this world and dreams of a day when everyone will have to kneel before her, seeking revenge on those who mistreated her. Poor girl. Now, Meghan often gets compared to Wallis Simpson, the late Duchess of Windsor, and there's some solid reasoning behind that. Both were American actresses aiming for stardom who ended up marrying into the royal family. And interestingly, right after tying the knot, their husbands stepped back from their royal duties. But the biggest similarity, they're both master manipulators who seem to relish in causing chaos in their husbands' lives. However, maybe Wallis Simpson isn't quite as scheming as Meghan Markle. Meghan takes the cake when it comes to plots and schemes. She's like a venomous snake, forever leaving a mark that no one else can match. Let's be real here, Meghan tries to play up her fame, but she's never been a household name. Most of us didn't even know who she was before all this royal business. She wasn't some big-time Hollywood starlet, let's get that straight. I mean, seriously, she needs to stop acting like she was some A-lister. Meghan Markle had a minor role in a pretty unknown Canadian TV show, that's about it. And let's not forget her messy history ditching her first husband by mailing back her rings, then hopping into a relationship with Harry while still seeing someone else, that Canadian chef, and to top it off, she cuts ties with her own father. Not exactly the girl next door, right? Meghan Markle's no saint. There's nothing she won't do, no line she won't cross, all for the sake of her vanity. Folks, I sometimes wonder if Harry sees Meghan for who she really is. Deep down, he might know he made a huge mistake marrying her, but admitting that would be admitting he messed up big time. He can't face the fact that he gave up his old life of security and comfort as a working royal, even if he was always in his brother's shadow. Harry's learning the hard way that things were better before, but he can't bring himself to admit it. That would be a blow to his ego for sure. And now he's stuck in a tough spot. There's no going back for him. Harry's painted himself into a corner. And the biggest blunder of his life? Believing every word Meghan Markle fed him. From the get-go, Meghan had her eye on Harry for the cash she could rake in by marrying him. She probably fantasized about all the lavish wedding gifts and celebrity guests she'd score. But now, it's like those plans vanished into thin air. Nobody's paying them any mind. And what's Meghan up to these days? Making jam in her kitchen, can you believe it? Talk about a fall from grace. But seriously, how much money does that self-centered woman need? She's so wasteful, blowing cash on extravagant parties and private jet rides. She chose to leave the royal family, and now she and Harry are running low on funds. So selling jam seems to be her last resort. You know what? I hope this whole ordeal teaches Meghan a lesson. She deserves a taste of humility. It seems most Brits are just relieved to see them go. They're seen as freeloaders living off their royal connections without putting in any real effort to earn their own keep. Honestly, they haven't done anything to deserve their status. They should be completely cut off from the royals and the celebrity scene they've been clinging to. Those titles need to be revoked, plain and simple. Even if they're not stripped of their titles someday, they'll likely exploit them however they please. The royal family needs to listen to what the people want those titles need to go. Harry and Meghan are the ones behind this global smear campaign. They had the potential to make a positive impact on the world, but they chose a different path. Instead of using their influence for good, they clung to their titles and tried to exploit their royal connections by spreading lies and tarnishing the royal family's reputation. They thought they could cash in quickly on this scheme. They were convinced they were more popular and successful than an institution that's been around for 1,000 years. Meghan, you had a plan, but it wasn't a very good one. And now karma is catching up with you. In some twisted way, this jam idea suits Meghan perfectly. It's like her sickly sweet, clinging onto everything, but lacking in quality and attracting all sorts of unwanted attention. Too much of it might make you sick, and it's probably loaded with artificial additives and sweeteners. Honestly, boycotting all of Meghan's products seems like the right move. Not only do we despise her, but she doesn't need our money to fuel her destructive agenda against the UK and its people. And let's be real, Meghan's food might be just as dangerous as she is. Who knows what's in that jam? It could be anything, even drugs. She probably figured the only way to get people hooked was to make them addicted, so she's likely slipped something in there. I wouldn't put it past her. Recently, we've seen more proof of Meghan's deceitfulness. Honestly, I couldn't even begin to list all the terrible things she and Harry have done in such a short time. Let me give you a few examples. None of them come as a surprise, though. Everything they do seems staged. Take the polo match, for instance. They showed up at the American US Polo Championship with a Netflix crew in tow, but were denied entry with them. They were probably trying to snap photos of spectators for their next Netflix show. They staged the charity polo match with barely any spectators present, yet conveniently, Harry's team emerged victorious. So there he is on the podium receiving the trophy, while that poor woman representing the charity for which the match was played gets shoved aside for Meghan Markle. It just doesn't add up. And why? Just so Meghan could put on a show for everyone kissing Harry, pretending to adore him, posing for photos alongside him, all the hugs, all pretending to be so blissfully happy. It was mostly just business associates seeking some attention, giving Meghan her chance to bask in the spotlight because she craves it, some PR spin. But most people can see through these little charades, all the schemes. It's no surprise because they use the same playbook for everything they do. And no matter how hard they try, the same story, the same behavior, it yields the same outcome. This whole fake it till you make it plan isn't panning out too well for them. Maybe Meghan needs to consider a different approach, but she probably doesn't have one. In my opinion, a truly wise person isn't arrogant or impulsive. But Meghan Markle doesn't fit that bill. She completely misinterpreted the kindness and respect shown to her by the royal family, thinking it was a sign of weakness. How wrong she was. She believed she was the clever one, thinking she could manipulate everyone to her advantage, but she failed to realize there are highly intelligent professionals working within the royal circles and traditions that must be upheld. What Meghan wanted, she didn't receive, and this revealed her to be incredibly difficult to work with. Meghan also attempted to discredit the senior royals, making baseless claims of racism. It was nothing more than a desperate attempt to salvage her reputation as she exited the scene, but it backfired spectacularly. Meghan Markle isn't exactly a standout figure. She's just a small fry in the big picture. What does she even have to do with the royals? She seems more intent on tearing them down. Last Meghan can keep dreaming, but her fantasies will never come true. Setting up a new institution? Total nonsense. It's all just a joke. Have any of you ever dreamt of being a superhero ruling the world like Meghan imagines? Sure, dreams are fine. But let's face it, Meghan Markle won't be saving the world from anything. If anything, she's the one we need saving from. All right, now that we've talked about Meghan Markle's insatiable greed, let's shift gears to a different topic, the impact of her toxic narcissism, particularly on the children. I'm concerned about Archie and Lilibet if they're indeed real. Especially little Lilibet, who's just 2 years old. She's stuck with a narcissistic mother who exploits her children for PR purposes, and a father dealing with addiction issues who seems disconnected from their lives. These kids have been cut off from the royal family when they should have had the chance to know them and be sheltered under their roof. Instead, they're isolated, not just from the royals, but from almost everyone outside. Now, assuming these kids are real, is there any chance they'll enjoy royal privileges when they grow up? Like if Lilibet gets married someday, will she be allowed to wear a tiara? Traditionally, wearing a tiara at a wedding is reserved for princesses of the British royal family. Speaking of which, let's delve a bit deeper into Lily's potential future, particularly regarding her prerogative when she gets married, right? Every little girl may dream of having her own crown at some point, but for some, that privilege may have been taken away by their parents. And of course, I'm referring to Lilibet, the alleged daughter of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Naturally, wearing a crown adds to the allure and status of a princess. They shimmer, they're stunning, they exude royalty. But I can't help but wonder, will Princess Lilibet ever have the chance to wear a crown? When exactly did her parents step down as royals? The royal family places great importance on tradition. Princesses typically wear tiaras passed down from the late Princess Diana or the late Queen Elizabeth for special events and weddings. Take Princess Beatrice, for instance. She wore Queen Mary's diamond fringe tiara during her wedding to Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi in 2020, a tiara inherited from the late Queen Elizabeth. And let's not forget Princess Eugenie, who chose the stunning Greville Emerald Kokoschnik tiara for her wedding to Jack Brooksbank in 2018. So Princess Lilibet is seventh in line to the throne. Will she be permitted to wear a crown? Well, she's got at least 16 years until she could even consider marriage. By then, if King Charles lives that long, he'll be 92 in age, not uncommon in his family. But let's remember, he's currently battling serious health issues, including cancer. This means Lilibet would be marrying before she even attends university or experiences independence in adult life. I doubt it'll happen, but who knows? Honestly, if Lilibet grows up to be like her mother, then a rushed wedding might be on the cards. Meghan would relish the attention, especially if it distracts from the ailing King Charles, barely able to walk, having to leave the palace for his granddaughter's wedding. You can just imagine how Meghan would spin the story. And when the king looks into Lilibet's blue eyes, all he feels is regret for how he treated Diana. He apologizes for the mistreatment Harry and Meghan endured and declares Meghan Markle the ultimate queen, with Harry as her humble subject. But if Meghan were to become queen, it could spell the end of the monarchy. So when Lilibet gets married, will she be allowed to borrow a tiara? Honestly, in my opinion, probably not. Maybe Meghan would expect Earl Spencer to lend his daughter the crown. But he's made it clear that the Spencer tiara is reserved for Spencer women. He refused to let Meghan borrow it. When the current Earl passes away, his son will inherit everything, and the tiara won't go to Lilibet, Charlotte, or Meghan Markle. Unless Lilibet is raised in Britain in the future, which doesn't seem likely. I doubt she'll wear a royal tiara when she gets married. I don't know who the king will be at that point, whether Charles or William, but I don't see them shipping a tiara to California. Even if Lilibet marries in Britain and the king decides to loan a tiara, she wouldn't have a say. She'd be like her mother, Meghan Markle, just wearing whatever tiara she's told to wear. Honestly, I don't think Harry ever considered the Spencer tiara until Meghan came along with her fixation. I doubt he cares much about tiaras, he's more interested in status and money. It's never seemed like he cared about jewelry, except to please Meghan. In Harry's warped logic, maybe he thinks the tiara should have been his mother's and therefore his. Or perhaps he's still stuck in the mindset of what Meghan wants. Meghan gets Harry's sense of entitlement is astounding. I don't think there's much chance that Lilibet will receive the Spencer tiara. Charlotte is more likely to inherit it. Instead of being gifted to Charlotte, I imagine William would purchase it for her from his uncle or cousin. According to reports, William and his uncle are quite close, so if he were still around at the time, maybe he would have loaned it to them for Charlotte's wedding day. Another possibility is that the article about the tiara is simply a fabrication, perhaps put out by Earl Spencer because Meghan Markle requested to wear it. That would be quite amusing to me. However, I doubt they would entertain the idea of selling the family tiara. It's likely a point of pride for them to keep it within the family due to its connection to Diana. If they were to sell it to anyone, it would probably be William, given his close relationship with his late mother and his status as the Earl's nephew. I believe the only way Lilibet will ever wear a crown is if Harry buys one for her or rents one. I doubt Charles will be around at that time, and William wouldn't lend out historic jewels to someone he doesn't know unless tight security is in place. Lilibet isn't a Spencer, and the Spencers have no connection to her. They wouldn't lend her the tiara. And the idea of Charlotte inheriting the Spencer tiara is nonsense. I'm sure the next Earl will keep possession of it, as Charlotte doesn't need it. It's worth noting that one doesn't need to be royal to wear a tiara. According to modern etiquette, a tiara is typically worn for the first time at age 18, often by a bride. However, societal norms have become more relaxed, and events where tiaras are appropriate, such as formal white tie affairs, have become less formal. Considering this, I doubt Lilibet will have any occasion to wear one. If she remains in California and opts for an outdoor wedding, which is common there, a tiara wouldn't fit the setting. But if she inherits her mother's fashion sense, though I hope she doesn't, then who knows what she'll wear. It's unfortunate that Lilibet's parents are so driven by greed, as it means she won't receive her rightful noble privileges. She won't get a tiara, nor will she have access to the royal grounds. I'm sure Harry believes his children deserve grand taxpayer funded weddings at St. Paul's and Westminster, but that's unlikely to happen. By then, William will likely be king, and such events won't be sanctioned. Beatrice and Eugenie were perhaps the last non working royals to enjoy lavish weddings. When it comes to Lily's future wedding, all I wish for her is a normal, peaceful life surrounded by love. I hope she finds happiness in a peaceful marriage with supportive family and friends. My hope is that these children grow up to be better than their parents. Giving them titles and privileges was a cruel move, as they'll likely never be more than royal adjacent. If they want Lilibet to wear a crown, they'll have to have one made for her. Unfortunately for Meghan, unless the royal family establishes a relationship with Lilibet, she may never get to wear a tiara. It's highly unlikely the palace would agree to ship a tiara to the US. It's just not practical. The tiara would have to pass through several hands, including security personnel. The wedding venue would also need royal level security, and the tiara could never leave their sight. When Lilibet eventually gets married, she won't be the granddaughter of the monarch, she'll be the estranged niece. It wasn't their place in the line of succession, but rather their relationship to the monarch that allowed Beatrice and Eugenie to wear tiaras at their weddings. However, when Lilibet gets married during King William's reign, she'll simply be a niece one he's likely never even met. So no, I don't believe Lilibet will be able to wear a tiara owned by the royal family at her wedding if she indeed gets married and if she even exists. If the royal family were exceptionally generous, even if Lilibet was born via surrogate, she's still Harry's child and the grandchild of King Charles. If she grew up in the UK and had a relationship with her father's family, perhaps she could wear a tiara at her wedding, maybe as Lady Lilibet Diana or Princess Lilibet Diana. She might be loaned a tiara by Queen Camilla or Queen Catherine. But this would only be possible if Meghan wasn't around to complicate things. Lilibet doesn't necessarily need to be in LA to wear a tiara from the royal collection. She just needs to be trusted, which is more than we can say for her mother and father for that matter. Anyway, let's return to reality. While I wish King Charles all the best, it's likely to be at least 20 years before Lilibet gets married. I'm not sure if the king will last that long, and by then George and Charlotte could already have children of their own. At that point, Lilibet would be quite far down the line of succession, so I don't think it'll be an issue. However, I do hope that by that time Lilibet has realized she has terrible parents and has found a nice, normal guy to marry someone with whom she can truly have a great life. All right, let's discuss a thought I had while pondering the recent news about King Charles summoning Harry and Meghan back to England this summer with their invisible kids. My theory is that King Charles might request a DNA test to determine the truth about the two kids, whether they are truly his grandchildren or not. I think it would be beneficial for the kids if this were to happen, as it might enable them to enjoy some royal privileges. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. I'm quite skeptical about this news. It's hard to believe that King Charles would extend an invitation, especially given his current health condition. The family is already dealing with enough stress, especially with Catherine's illness. I don't think now is the time to be concerning themselves with the invisible children. However, some claim that the king is genuinely worried about the kids. If that's the case, then insisting that the kids be raised in the UK to retain their prince and princess titles would be a simple way to ensure their safety. I highly doubt they would risk losing their titles, especially since those titles hold significant importance for Meghan. Perhaps Harry and Meghan should have refrained from criticizing the royal family with their lies and exaggerations. If they truly seek success in this world, they're likely to face a very different future now. And if the kids were raised in the UK, they would certainly enjoy better privileges than they do currently. But then again, we must remember that Meghan is a narcissist. She can't stand the idea of being overshadowed by her own children. Meghan always needs to be in control of everything and everyone all the time. I doubt she wants to relinquish control over Harry's children. She doesn't want her parenting skills or her children to be compared to Catherine's, George's, Charlotte's, or Louis's. However, I think it's about time King Charles showed some backbone. Perhaps his illness made him realize the importance of the line of succession. Therefore, Harry and Meghan's kids should receive the same privileges as other royal children, given their position in the line of succession and the opportunity to live in the UK. So maybe King Charles is saying, prove that your kids are real by bringing them to see me at Balmoral. If they don't come, then we'll have to remove them from the line of succession because we can't even verify their existence. At the end of the day, more than anything, I just hope Harry and Meghan will stop criticizing the royals. The royals have been incredibly generous to them. It's high time they apologize and make amends. Not only would it be good for themselves, but it would also be beneficial for Archie and Lilibet. Maybe then we'll finally get confirmation that they're real. Those kids deserve better, and now that Charles is king, he has to meet with the people in the line of succession. All right, folks, so I want to know what you think about the story I discussed today. Please comment below. If you want us to explore any other topics related to the royal family, please suggest them below to let us know. And I hope this video resonates with you. Don't forget to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye for now, and I'll be back to see you again soon. And remember to check out our other videos on the King YouTube channel.